He was a revered.
He was a very popular man.
A revered figure in Iran and some other places in the Middle East.
Even many of Soleimani's enemies admitted he was a military genius.
It's difficult to convey how revered he is.
He was seen as almost something of a cult figure.
Oh, boy. The mainstream media gushing over Soleimani, the man responsible for the deaths of over 600 American soldiers, using words, as you could hear, like revered and genius. How about this one from NPR? Quote, known for his quiet demeanor and short stature, Soleimani exuded charisma and an intelligence that even his enemies came to respect. Joining me now is Democrat strategist and Iranian-American Aramesh, along with former Army intelligence and special operations veteran Brett Velikovich. Ari, you're a Democrat, but I understand you're not too happy with these descriptions, are you?
Well, Democrat or Republican, we're all interested in American national security and American interests, first and foremost. Where I come from, where my blood comes from and hails from, I'm also interested in the Iranian people, their aims, their ambitions, and the fact that they want to live in a peaceful environment. Now, you can call Soleimani a genius, you can call Osama bin Laden a genius, but can I tell you something? Osama bin Laden had a lot less blood on his hand in terms of capability, operational skills, and potency than Qassem Soleimani. Qassem Soleimani was the head of the Quds forces. That's the out special unit for the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, for 22 to 26 years. He took the Quds forces from a battalion to a regiment to a division, almost 15,000 forces. Every key ambassador that serves in Iranian embassies in Lebanon, in key Arab countries, in countries in Europe where Iran has had operations, are all Quds Force members. Yeah, you can call him a genius, but let's call it what it is. He was causing a lot of problems. He had organized some of the most anti-American elements on the ground. Right. And you want to call it fair, legal, illegal, whatever. I wish President Trump had called Chuck Schumer. Yeah, give him a heads up. That would have been great. But it is what it is, and I think this was measured. Well,
it's a very, very honest description of what happened. I do want to move on to Brett for a second, because one thing that really got under my skin was hearing the media compare him and the Quds Force, which Ari just outlined what it did very well, I thought, as their special forces, trying to make a moral equivalence, if you will, between U.S. special forces and the Quds Force, which were being ordered to kill civilians. I mean, that was part of their job. That's not what our special forces are ordered to do.
David, this is just absurd. These are terrorists. These are designated terrorists, all right? Would you call Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi this revered genius? Absolutely not. Soleimani was the #1 terrorist in the world, and the world is absolutely much safer now that Soleimani is dead. He deserved everything that he had coming to him, and the mainstream media is just losing its mind over this strike on Soleimani. The Dems in particular were so certain that President Trump was going to lead us into war and with Iran, but instead he's been smart and tactical about what he's doing, and he's keeping this rogue regime in check. And so it's just totally absurd that they're revering Soleimani and propping him up for more than he actually is, which is just a terrorist.
Well, and Ari, you never heard the word terrorist in the NPR article that I quoted from. They never used that word terrorist to describe it. Maybe they did in some other article, but not in the one I quoted. Also, they continued to say assassination, that he was assassinated. It's a word that I never heard used for Osama bin Laden when President Obama was in power and oversaw the killing of Osama bin Laden. The point is that he was a terrorist. He was in a battle zone, and he was about to commit a terrorist act. Doesn't that make him a fair military target, in which case it would not be an assassination?
Call him what you want. Call him Mickey Mouse. Call him Donald Duck. It doesn't matter. The man was in charge of the most potent force in the region. He had organized and created Hezbollah in Iraq. The #2 who was actually killed in that convoy, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, was by far the most potent Iraqi who considered himself a soldier of Soleimani, an Iraqi considering himself a soldier of Qassem Soleimani. But let's put this into perspective. Here's what's going on. Brett said tactical. I want the president to be strategic. We did something right. Are we going to escalate, or are we going to hit back? Because you know there's going to be counter-retaliation.
No. The president says no escalation.
Well, there's going to be
retaliation.
There is going to be retaliation from the Islamic Republic of Iran. So the question is, what is going to be our countermeasures, and is it going to be proportionate or disproportionate? And there are questions. Sometimes you have to ask, what's the virtue of a proportionate response? When they know that they take out one of our guys, we're going to hit a facility or factory. When they know they're going to hit one of our embassies or one of our bases, and we're going to take out 2 more of their satellite or missile silos. Right. Last night was not a proportionate response.
All right. Well, I got to get
us, we hit them
Brett
back,
back
and we hit
in
them
here.
back again.
Right, forgive me, but there's a montage that we put together of Democrats running for president and what they have said about what went on over the past 36 hours. Let's play that and get your reaction, Brett.
Tragically, his actions now put us on the path to another war.
The risks are greater today because of the actions Donald Trump has taken.
This was very clearly an act of war by this president.
We have a president who has had really a failure in his Iranian policy.
I can only hope that the president has carefully thought out the national security implications of this attack.
The next president, who will be picking up the pieces after the Trump administration.
So, Brett, after all we've heard about this guy from you and from Ari and from many others, how far do you think Democrats are going to get in opposing the killing of a terrorist who's about to commit another atrocity? You only have about 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Look, I mean, all the people that are criticizing the president for his actions here, I mean, they haven't suggested anything that hasn't already been tried multiple times for the last 2 decades. And guess what? It never worked. We needed to shift our strategy. And that was what happened here when the president called for the strike on Soleimani, who, by the way, was planning to yet again attack American forces. He is responsible for hundreds of U.S. soldiers' deaths. And all these people criticizing the policies of the president, they're completely incorrect because the president did what was necessary to protect American lives.
Brett Velikovich, Ari Aramesh, good to see you both. Thank you very much for coming in, gentlemen.
Thanks,
I appreciate
David.
it. Well, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweeting a video claiming to show Iraq